All right, we are live. What's going on, everybody? It's good to see everybody tonight. Wait for the lobby to fill up a little bit, and then we'll get started. So we got a pretty good topic tonight. We are actually this was influenced by one of our channel members here on the channel, Pimpovic, and I want to make a special shout out to him for the idea. And it's something we talk about kind of a lot on the channel with the engine swaps and the displacements and boosted versus NA, and we're going to kind of dig into that tonight quite a bit. We're also going to talk a lot about the reliability of it with the experiences that I've had. Guys, I'm not a subject matter expert on everything. I've experienced quite a bit with boosts, especially with the 302s and the 351s and the push rod genre, and from what I've seen with the coyotes and such. So what I say, and what the way I influence some of the channel could be a little bit different than somebody else. There's definitely some really good sources of information out there. Especially about the topic we're about to talk about tonight. I don't know if you guys follow Rich Holdner. Make sure you check out his channel. He's very, very, very good at what he does. So, he has a lot of tech about 5.0, 5 liters, 9.5 deck, 8.2 deck, pretty much all Ford stuff. And he also is good with other engines and such. So, definitely want, I'm going to have to go with my glasses tonight. Anyway. So we got the whiteboard out in case we need it. First off, I want to say big shout out to the guys in green. Those are my channel members. Again, tonight's topic was something I asked in channel member chat. I'm very active in there. If you guys want to take a chance at, take a look at it, join button below, down there next to the subscribe button. If you want to, be a channel member for a month or 7 months or 7 years. Appreciate all the guys. Big shout out to all the guys in green there. Adventures with Super Dave, Budget Bill Dom, Ryan Bass, MJP, etc. Broken Tool Garage. So, anyways, guys, like I said, hot topic for tonight is reliability of boost versus stroked. We're going to talk about that first. We're going to talk about a little bit about displacement. We're going to talk a little bit about, engine swaps and such. I'm going to kind of leave some of the exotic engine swaps kind of out of the mix. Since this is a Fox Body channel, there's some exotic engine swaps out there like Godzilla, which is kind of too new to be talking about. I don't know a whole lot of experience with it. I know it's pretty badass. The Terminator swap, obviously the Terminator swap is a little bit of an exotic build. It's an amazing build if you can, afford to do it. It's reliable as it would be just in a Cobra. And of course, like the Barrett and such. So we're going to talk more on the 302, 351 push rod, a little bit about the Coyote tonight. So it's about what we're going to do. So big shout out to my sponsors. You guys see them back here on the board. McLeod, Tremec, Stiflers, Team Z, Viking, Hanlon Motorsports, my number one sponsor. My guy, Andrew, over there. So any transmission needs, you guys got to go hit him up. You guys already know. So anyway. Now, we're not going to be talking about like one thing or the other. We're not going to say, well, what about boosted in displacement? What are we talking about? Boosted versus naturally aspirated or whatever. We're just going to talk about the reliability of boost and the reliability of stroking the block naturally aspirated. So that's the main focus of the topic, but we're going to talk about some of the other things because, guys, I could talk all night about this subject. What works better, when you're coming into an engine build. So best way to approach this, when you're coming into an engine build, you have options, right? And one of the main options is, should I engine swap to a Coyote? Well, then we always talk about what's the 3 biggest things we talk about on our channel? Time, money, family, right? It's all affected by, what the money you spend on your Fox body and how much money you put into it, etc. This white Fox body behind me, it's no different. The black Fox body, the coupe Fox body that we're building, Dad's car, soon to be cousin Paul's car. It never ends. It just, you have to budget and figure out where you want to go with your build. So everybody's come to that point. Well, what engine am I going to build? Should I stroke it? Should I just 306 it? Should I just switch over to a 351 stock bottom end? I mean, there's so many different variations of what right looks like. And none of it is wrong. Again, always on my channel, if there's one thing we talk about in live the most, it's time, money, and family. You got to budget how much time you got, how much money you have to actually throw at it, and your family. And family could be friends too. You know, do you have a family and do you have kids that you got to pay special attention to a little bit more than some other people might? So those are like the three main factors when we're getting our cars off the jack stands that I'm always pushing for. And again, this whole topic would be tonight about the engine swap and where you're at when you come to that option. Anyway, so if you're boosting a motor, say you're just going to stock rebuild your 306. You have many options. You can go ahead and swap over to a 351 stock bottom end junkyard block. You could go and, you could just 306 it, which is your cheap 30 over rebuild. You could just re-ring it. You could re-bearing it. There's a lot of options you can do. When you start, and the deeper you dig into the other more exotic options like 331 and 347, 363, I mean, the block alone is $3K, right? You got to get it machined. You got to put it in your car. So when you start talking about boosts, especially, what I've experienced in life, with my builds is there's just so much, there's an interesting amount of reliability that, you lose when you start boosting your block. Now, nitrous is a whole different animal, guys. Nitrous is there when you turn it on. You heat the bottle up, you turn it on. So we're going to talk about those types of builds here in a minute. So we're going to leave nitrous off the table for now, just because I want to spin that with my naturally aspirated stuff. Anyway, when you start talking about boost and reliability, you start talking about, header gaskets. You start talking about cracks in the manifolds. You start talking about quality of the turbo kit, the install. Can I retain my air conditioning? Can I retain my smog if it's needed? In some states it is. You know what I mean? Do I have to move this? What do I have to replace there? The more you modify your Fox body, the less reliable it's going to be. It's just, and then more maintenance. Now, I don't want to say more or less reliable. I want to say more maintenance it's going to cost you, because you don't know, things are going to break. Things are going to wear out. You guys seen the video recently. I had a precision turbo on my black turbo Fox body, and I took the turbo off because I had ideas that something was wrong with it. And look what happened. The whole back of the exducer wheel was all chewed up from metal. So most folks that didn't know anything and know any better could easily mistake that as something else being a problem. So there's a pretty good amount of maintenance that goes into, owning a turbo kit on a basic 302 all the way up to a 427. I mean, the more power you make, the more displacement, the more engine builds you have, the more of a maintenance schedule you're going to be on. I got to change, like my white car, I change oil in it 3 or 4 times a year, and I only drive it a couple thousand miles and make a bunch of passes at the track. It's just, there's a lot of maintenance in, versus like a 306 or a 302 with a simple Vortec or a simple turbo kit on it. You could kind of tame it down and get more reliability at it, but time, money, and family, so let me get back here in chat real quick. Proud to announce mine left the shop on all 4 tires. Good job, Ryan. Got it off the jack stands. Good to see that. Pimpovic is the guy who actually gave me the idea for this live stream tonight. So I'm thinking about this topic since I have a Vortec 306, but have all the parts needed to put together a 347. So let me talk about the different, like boost versus stroked. Okay. So you're on your engine build. Like, again, I'm going to focus mainly on the pushrod 306, 302, 351 builds. Like I said, we're going to talk about the displacement of some of those, the exotic displacements like the 408 and 427 and such, and a little bit about the coyotes. But say you're at the point where you have a 302, you're ready to rebuild it, you're ready to replace it. You kind of hit that crossroad with, well, should I just drop a coyote in it? Dare I say, LS swap it? We'd never do that here on the channel, but that's an option. I have plenty of friends that have LS swap their Fox bodies that make good power budget. And, it is what it is. Is it something that we do on the channel? No, but there's different directions you can go at that point. So let's just say 302, you stick a turbo kit on it. Like we did it with Dad's car. It's perfect case scenario. All we did was stick a turbo kit on Dad's rebuilt GT40 motor. And we put the A-trim supercharger Vortec, 7 pounds of boost. We didn't have to tune it. It was on speed density. We were hooked up by Anderson Ford Motorsport. My man Donnie B over there hooked us up with an FMU. We made 7-8 pounds. We made like 330 wheel, which is plenty of fun to get in trouble with on a Fox body, to be honest with you. The reliability was always there for us. The unreliability of that build was the fact that the belt slippage, there was, innate wear on the crank from just, the crank pulling, the supercharger pulling on it. And the more power you make, the more that becomes inevitable. But, turbo kit, we switched over to, a homemade turbo kit, which we made for a couple $100, a lot of Amazon stuff and some welding. And we ended up making like 375, like 420 to the wheels on 24-pound injectors with an FMU that had 19 in it. So the reliability of that really isn't good, to be honest with you. It's not that. The more you modify it, the more unreliable it is. So you start actually having a checklist in your head where you're like, all right, well, I got to pay attention to cracks and I got to pay attention to things getting burned, wires being in the way. We've caught things, I actually caught my oil line, as dumb as it is. I had a nylon oil line in my black Turbo Fox, and I should have had the copper one like it's in my white car for years, and there never was. So guess what happened? It barely got close to one of those headers and burned it. So there's going to be incurring maintenance versus just doing a resto, basically just staying stock. There's something to be said about staying stock too. So anyways, stroking the motor kind of has its own differences. So if you're looking to make 300, 350, 375, because I don't think I've ever seen a 347 make more than 375 wheel. Not at my shop. We got one come close. My buddy Mike Meredith's old 347 with a monster cam and big heads. I think it went like 393 to the wheels or something like that on a 347 build. But definitely getting a lot of trouble with a Fox body with a stroke motor. I'm talking about A2 deck right now. We're not talking about 9.5 deck yet. If you're looking for reliability versus boosted, and that's what we're here to talk about. And you're looking not to, shoot the moon for horsepower, 100% stroke the motor and be done with it. Good set of headers, matching cam, matching intake heads, whatever. 347, well-built, balanced. Guys, if you're going to build a motor, zero balance it. Pay the extra money for zero balance. There's a reason why that motor back there still sits in that car, and I didn't lay the rods all over the track 2 years ago because I'm just a very, very, very big advocate of zero balancing. It just makes sense. You know what I mean? There's no reason why you would put 50 or 28 ounces. Guys, think about that. That's like 1.5 pounds to 3 pounds on each end of your motor, and your motor survives on that. Imagine if that was off a little bit, how many harmonics you would get through your motor that you don't even feel, that would just destroy it. So I'm going to get off my soapbox, but if the opportunity to spend a couple $100 on a zero balance, do it. It's number one. You won't look back. All my motors are zero balanced. The 363, the 410, and the other one you guys don't know about yet. So if you're looking to just cruise, you're looking to have a monster sounding car, just naturally aspirated, something that maybe you could throw some nitro at, at the track and have some fun with it. And I see my man Mike, Mark Turner here in the, in the channel. And, he's kind of he's been building on a 420. I think it's a 427, if I'm not mistaken. He's got a nice shot of nitrous on it. So here's the nice thing about his build is he can really kind of lean on the fact that his car probably makes 450 wheel on that. We're fitting to find out because I think he's in the naturally aspirated shootout at Ford Takeover, but we'll talk about Ford Takeover later. But he's got a stroke motor that probably makes anywhere between 425 and 500 wheel. I don't know. It depends on cam and heads and the combo or whatever, but that's Coyote area. The motor probably is super expensive, but so isn't a Coyote swap. So you can make reliable, good horsepower, but it's just going to cost you money. As far as like making cheap boosted budget horsepower, like we do with the 306s and the 302s and stuff that we do here on the channel, that there's definitely an incurring maintenance there. I don't want to scare you away from getting, boosting your car. I don't want to scare you away from that. But the reliability is definitely a question. There's a maintenance schedule to keep these things running well that you need to be paying attention to versus like a naturally aspirated modified motor. It's a little bit different. It's more tune related. You having a Holley Terminator X or having a an adapter like MF Customs guy. I think they're right here in the channel. He makes an adapter that adapts the stock harness to the Terminator X. You could get a Terminator X ECU and tune it just like normal and not have to do all the painless, pain in the ass wiring that everybody complains about. So, but anyways, if you're going to make, the reliability of boost versus the reliability of stroking the motor, it's two different animals. Can you boost the stroke motor later on? Well, yeah, all my stuff on the channel is boosted, but it just depends on what your end goal is. You could build a stroked motor, enjoy it for a year or two, and then switch it over to turbo. You can, there's so many different avenues of build. There's so many different, ways to build your motor on cam selection and head selection and such. But, definitely when you start stepping into the boosted realm, you start talking about other reliability issues that could happen. But the nice thing about the turbos is you don't really boost the motor until you get past get into wide open throttle. Supercharger has a little bit of a disadvantage there. It has its advantages and it has its disadvantages, much like turbos do. Superchargers are they're ready to rip right now. You flip the throttle, you're gone. But the disadvantage of having a supercharger is it's belt driven, so it puts quite a bit of load on the front nose of the crank, depending on how much boost you're running, especially. But again, these are all things that we've known on the channel for years. It's stuff that you guys may or may not know about. But it's definitely a reliability / issue when you start talking, wanting to make power, in your Fox body or SN or New Edge or what have you. So let me get into some of these comments real quick. What's up, Neo? I say take reliability over anything else. You can't enjoy what you have if you're under the hood all the time. That's correct. So I am under the hood all the time, guys. I am always on and off the lift. We're always under the car. Where the hell is that leaking from? Where the hell is this leaking from? And, it's funny because I run E85, so there's water in it. So as soon as you start the car up, if you have any sort of exhaust leaks anywhere, water's going to come out. There's a lot of condensation in E85. So that's definitely it, Nathan Tuck. That's a great comment. I just got mine back from storage. Just getting the final touches done. So big shout out to Hanlon. We'll talk about coyotes here. Now, guys, you could go one of two different ways when you start talking about, when you start talking about reliability. You can go one of two different ways. You could really kind of go, you can go into the carbureted. If you really want to be reliable, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not a carbureted guy, but a carbureted car will skin you up, especially a nice, well-built 9.5 deck stroke motor. Forget it, dude. If it's dialed in, bro, especially on like E85, some of the nastiest motors I've seen here in Northeast Ohio has been the 408, the 410, the 427 on a dialed up, I keep getting it wrong and I keep messing up. CSU, is it Kevin? He's the carb guy, man. I'm out there. Somebody help me out with the company here. Anyways, just some of the nastiest motors, and you can boost a carbureted E85, motor, and it's just reliable. You know what I mean? Carburetors are just they just run. Fuel injection requires a lot of tuning. Well, so doesn't carburetor for the most part, but EFI kind of more require. The Terminator X is kind of nice because it kind of has like a self-learning, kind of helps the process a little bit. But CSU, that's what I thought. What's up, Brutal? Brutal in the house. Appreciate you stopping in, Nakia. It's good to see you, brother. So, Neo, what would you think was more reliable? A higher boost 302, 306 or a low boost 330, 331, 347? Guy, I would go with the lower boost 331, 347 all day. High boost is not necessarily needed. If you're just talking about, driving it around, just enjoying it, taking it to the car shows, maybe popping on the dyno and flexing a little bit of horsepower. Dude, low boost. You don't need these Fox bodies don't need big horsepower to get in trouble. Once you start getting up past 300 horsepower, things start getting a little sketchy. And I know 300 is not a whole lot, but I'm talking more along the lines of like a street car, a car that goes to the car shows, a car that's driven and enjoyed, etc. So definitely a good stroked NA carburetor, a good stroked NA, well-tuned, even on a Terminator X. Definitely, if you guys are, curious about, which way to go, and you're not really sure, I would probably, if you don't have a good way of, maintaining your car because it's not reliable too much, you might have a little, something might come up in your turbo system or in your supercharger system that you don't know what it is. And then you're stuck asking all over the internet, what's this noise? What's that noise? Why is it doing this? And it could be something that, a bolt fell out of the idler. You see what I mean? There's more dumb shit that happens to my turbo kits than you could ever imagine. Like, it's just the dumb shit. It's just like, okay, well, where's that leaking from? And, why is that loose? And, you eventually get it to the point to where you're doing less maintenance on it because you've wrenched on it for so long. Again, I don't want you to think that it's a big deal. If you're into that, kind of mechanics, wrenching stuff like I am, we're always just fixing shit when we break it. I mean, that's what we do here on the channel. But for reliability is concerned, even just a well-built 306 guy. I mean, if you're not looking to make a bunch of horsepower and you're at that crossroads where you're ready to engine swap, obviously this is where we're going to talk about coyotes and the big inch, Windsors and stuff. But there's a lot of options. But if engine swapping isn't really part of your, game right now, there's nothing wrong with just rebuilding your 302, throwing a turbo kit on it, low boost, 10 pounds, make 400 wheel, and drive it around and upgrade your fuel system, upgrade your suspension, and just enjoy the car. There's a lot to be said. Same thing applies with the Vortec too. Obviously, you see Brutal here on the channel. He's done really well with his supercharged stuff. And it's just, just basic rebuild stuff, heads cam intake, makes good power, enjoys his builds. That's what it's all about, really. Let me check here. For our stock, I'm guessing that's for a stock rebuild to add more power. You think a low boost supercharger is safe regard? Yes. So you guys don't really need to. I mean, if anything, I taught you here on the channel is that you don't necessarily have to go crazy with your build. Like, you can take an entry-level supercharger. I'd probably stay away from the power nines if I were you. I just not a big fan of those superchargers. But like your basic entry-level A trim, I think there was a T trim or something that was, I'm talking basic. You could get a hold of Anderson at or Donnie B over at Anderson Ford Motorsports. He can kind of coach you along a little bit. But there's one thing that we did here on the channel is we boosted Dad's car without tuning it. And the whole point of boosting Dad's car without tuning it was to show you that you can still make power and still have a lot of fun with your Fox and not have to worry about tuning your car. Now, is it reliable? Well, it does smell a little rich, right? You're going to get that. There's going to be reliability issues with, you can see on your AFR gauge that's not 100% right, but we're basically tricking stock injectors or 24-pound injectors by, backing up the fuel to the injectors using the FMU. The FMU works. If you're looking to do boost and you don't have a tuner and you don't want to do the Terminator X or the adapter Terminator X, you just want to be stock wiring harness and stock computer, well, the FMU is in your future. 19-pound injectors will cap out at around 340 wheel, 330 wheel, which we did with Dad's car. That was what that whole playlist was for. It was to show you that, you don't have to make 1,000 horsepower or, tune on, Dominator or Terminator X. Hell, I still got an A9L here with my factory harness on my white car. We make good power. We got an issue. Well, we just go over to the dyno. We log it up. You know what I mean? Big cams usually detect drivability. So yeah, you start stepping into cams. Like I said, there's so many different flavors of builds that can happen that there's no wrong or right answer to all of it. As far as reliability is concerned, like I said, you know, 302, 306, 331, 347, naturally aspirated, carbureted or EFI, you can still get a 331, 347 to run very well. Naturally aspirated without a tune, running the pot, or, the proper calibrated with injector setup to kind of perfect it a little bit. You definitely want to go to a dyno and kind of tune it up a little bit, whether it's factory harness, factory computer, and or Terminator X. Either way, that's kind of where you want to be at. So we start talking about these engine swaps, though. That's what we're going to start talking about next. You can definitely skin some ass with the 302, 306, 331, 347. Get out there on the street and line up next to somebody and just send it. You know what I mean? So Pimp made 570 on a 306, 12 psi. I'm having to source an issue after barely having it together for one season. I just want to be done with it and enjoy it. So at this point, what I would suggest Pimp doing is legitimately just go ahead and engine swap. You've already seen what 500, 550 wheel feels like. Going backwards, once you drive a Mercedes, you don't want to drive a Kia. When you start making, that's a terrible metaphor, but whatever, you guys get the idea. You don't want to go backwards, right? You want to continue to go forward. You want to continue to make, more horsepower and what have you. So basically at this point, Pimp, I would 100% just go ahead and step into either a Coyote swap or go ahead and step if the budget's there, or to step into like a 351 9.5 deck motor, which is what I'm about to talk about. Like I said, I'm gonna talk about my buddy Casey Lee that I race here on, in Northeast Ohio. He's got a monster 427, and it's no joke. It's carbureted. It's no joke. I got a handful of EFI. I got a buddy, my buddy Cody Hartman, who I also stick shift race. I'm pretty sure he's got a 427, and his is supercharged. So these motors aren't to be fooled with. You start stepping into the 9.5 deck area, you start getting the reliability back from making horsepower. So you could go with a Coyote swap, which costs money, and you could go with the 9.5 deck swap, which costs money, and like a 393 could be a cheap, like we've done the 387. That's super cheap, super junkyardish. We're gonna make that's gonna be a torque monster. I'm telling you right now. But 387 is the same thing as a 393, except the pistons are different. So you can build a budget 393, put a set of heads on there, and it'll be more horsepower to the wheels than you ever need. You know what I mean? So that's where I would go with that, Pimp, if that answers some of your questions. I have an old A-trim on the shelf. Yeah, A-trims are dope. They put like 7-8 pounds to them. You know what I mean? They'll make like 330 to the wheels, and you have all kind of fun in the world. You just put a little FMU on your car, just put a little AFR gauge and just send it, whether it's speed density or mass area, don't even matter. Papa T's Fox has never been tuned. It's not the safest, but it's been together for 20 years like that. Hell yeah. I can't send money to help support the channel. It says message not sent. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what you mean. What's cracking, Neo? How much horsepower can I expect with GT40P heads, ECAM, GT40 intake on 3 turbo kit? You can make as high as 550, my man. Depends on how well you tune it. Reliability wise, I would stick around 4.25. Make sure your headers stay not cracked. Make sure your turbo is happy. Make sure you're not burning all your wires up underneath the engine bay. Should be good to go. All right, Brutal. I appreciate you stopping in, my man. I don't know. I don't know exactly what's going on, Super Dave. Should be good to go. Okay. What's up, Lamar Richardson? It's good to see you, my man. Now, see, this is a build here on the channel that we actually sold our channel member here, Lamar, as you guys seen in the video recently, actually, where it's just a simple rebuild. Like a simple rebuild like that is going to see like 300 wheel, maybe 290. It's not going to see a whole lot of horsepower, but it's going to run good. It's going to sound good. and it's going to do everything that Lamar wants to do with his Fox body. And there's 100% nothing wrong with that. And you can do the same thing with like what's some horsepower expectations? Um, 306 heads cam intake, good, good throttle body, a little bit of tune. Looking at like 290, 300 wheel. 331, you're going to probably squeeze out, depending on cam and heads combination, guys. It varies. Could squeeze out anywhere between 325 and probably 350 wheel, maybe 360, depending on what dyno you go to, too, because all the numbers are always read a little bit different. 347, same thing. You're sitting around 350. You should see 350 wheel on a 347 with good hand, good head cam intake. And non-boosted, we're talking naturally aspirated. When it's tuned, you should be, creeping 375 or something like that wheel. That's a pretty good rule of thumb when it comes to those builds on an 8.2 deck. Now, when you start, getting into the 9.5 deck motors, and then we're talking about naturally aspirated because of the reliability factor. You start getting a stock bottom end 351, you're over 300, you're probably three and a quarter. A 387, 393 will definitely make well over 400. 408 just start creeping. You start creeping into coyote numbers naturally aspirated when you start, boosting the 9.5 deck, or excuse me, when you start stroking the 9.5 deck motors. It's definitely something to think about because when you come to that road, you come to that crossroad when you're ready to do something with your Fox body that you're ready to replace the motor or definitely something to keep in mind. So, am I going to Fat Man's on Saturday? I thought it was. Is it Saturday or is it Sunday? I'll probably go to the event, but I'm not going to race. What did Mustang guy? I heard from a little bird. Oh, it helps, Neo. Thanks. Been looking for a 9.5 deck roller block, but they're harder to find. So yeah, I mean, you don't even really need to run a 9.5 deck roller block. I prefer a roller block because then you could just take the camshaft that you already got and throw it in there. But to be honest with you, if you're starting from square one, you can use any 9.5 deck 351 motor. They're all pretty awesome. You got to understand that the 351 Windsor crank has a big block style crank in it. It's a 3-inch main and it's huge. So you don't really spin those to the moon for the most part as far as RPM is concerned. But I mean, that's why they're pretty, plus the fact that the block is and the webbing and everything's, pretty beefy to begin with. When we talked about that earlier in the channel. Definitely zero balance your shit. No matter what you build, I don't care if you build a 306, zero balance it, and it would be a little difficult to. But if you're getting ready to buy a stroker kit or buy just a rotating assembly, definitely want to zero balance it. So anyway, I want a small supercharger on a 306, 7-8 pounds, little A trim, man. Keep it reliable. That's basically what we did with my dad's car. Put a little A trim on it, 8 pounds of boost, made like three wheel or something like that. I don't know. So at some point, adding boost or adding nitrous to your naturally aspirated motor, that's when things start getting unreliable. Definitely nitrous can definitely hurt your motor if it's not ran correctly. Um, it has any. The nice thing is you could just heat a bottle up, go to the track, make a bunch of passes, be fast, be awesome, and then turn it off. And then especially if you build like a 408, 410, 427 build, you could really you could have a naturally aspirated monster for the street that makes 400, 425, 450 wheel or more. And then you throw a little jiggle gas at it for a couple hundred, and they love that. Those 9.5 deck, stroker motors love nitrous. I mean, and then run like sick times at the track. It's really cool. Any clue on how close the rings come to the bottom of the skirt on 347? It's not really that much of a problem. Take it easy, MF Customs. Good to see you, Dan. What about a 40 over with Dart Pro 195s? Flat top pistons with valve release and solid flat tappet. Going to dyno next week. Just curious about what I can expect. So 40 over Dart. I mean, is it an 8.2 deck, 9.5 deck? What motor is it? What's it saying to you guys? Hang on, let me check it out. All right, should be good to go, Chris and Dave. Try that now. But anyways, Dan Wasp, what's up? It makes me this makes sitting on the toilet so much more entertaining. So I just got done talking to Dan on the phone, and we got some. Try sending it instead of doing a message. Try to do it a different way, like a super thanks. That's what you're trying to do, Dave, Chris. Try to do it a separate way, a different way, or whatever. Or don't put a message at all. Going to keep my eyes open. What do you got here? Going to keep my eyes open for a roller 351, maybe naturally aspirated. Not sure. My 302 is pretty fresh, but mild build. P heads, ECAM, and Typhoon intake. So one of the biggest issues about the 351 is the actual the swap. The swap itself, the oil pan, the intake, the distributor. There's just a handful of things that you have to rebuy if you don't already have it. You see what I mean? Um, so that's some things to consider. But when you're trying to get a motor that makes good power, 400 wheel, 450 wheel, uh, when you're trying to, using a 9.5 deck motor will get you, like I said, into coyote power. And you start talking about coyotes, you start talking about that swap with coyotes. I mean, I think those things come out the box pretty heavy at 400, 450 wheel, 500 wheel, depending on what you do, what gen you got, what cams you got, and such like that. So it's a great swap to have. Plus, it's got a lot of potentiality down the road, with survivability and what have you. So it's definitely a good build. So let me get in here some questions. Okay, so you got a 351. So what about a 40 over 351 Dart Pro 195s, intake and card, flat top, reliefs, 590. That's a big lift cam. You should see something. mm, you should see something close to 400, 4 and a quarter wheel. I would think, Nanya should work. Hmm. Trying to fix this real quick, guys. All right. KP, I want to add a little boost, but worried about the detonation and going kaboom. My motor is rebuilt street use. So tell me a little bit more about your motor. What's your build? So what are we talking about? We got the displacement. Let's talk more about displacement. Like when you get into the 9.5 deck 351 stuff, your reliability kind of goes up because of the strength of the block. You start getting to the 351 stock bottom end, even that. I mean, we put 720 wheel on about 17 pounds on a stock bottom end. I mean, we ended up bending the actual factory, but it still made 700 wheel, 720 wheel, which it probably made that for a while before the actual rods even bent. But trying to make a 302 go that far is a little bit unreliable. I mean, I know people talk about how much power they put to the wheels with a 302 and such, and how it's lasting and such. It's just a matter of time, really. The webbing and the load just isn't there. You know what I mean? So, one thing that 347s and 350, 351 stroke motors, they have torque, and torque is what gets the cap off your beer, bros. I mean, it's torque is what gets me out of the hole right now. I mean, my car makes a ton of torque. I mean, 4-digit torque numbers to the wheels, and the 351, that's and reliable for that matter. I mean, I'm going on year 3 with this motor, and I probably should have taken it apart, but it doesn't show any signs of giving up. Like, don't fix what isn't broken. Like, when you start getting into your 351 stuff, you know, you could go a month and blow it up, or you could go 3 years like I have. But I think one of the biggest things, like I keep talking about with the zero balance thing, I think that's kind of plays a main factor in that. So, what's up, barbecue Mike? Good to see you, bro. So, power adders definitely affect reliability. And it's just the fact of being, they require a lot of maintenance. It's just superchargers, turbos. I mean, even nitrous requires maintenance. With the bottles and the lines and the time. Like when you're shooting nitrous, you got to pull some timing out of it. You know what I mean? And it'll be more effective with less timing. Just this stuff to keep in mind when you're trying to build a car. Trying to build a car that makes good horsepower. But um, you know, you guys got any questions about this stuff? Go ahead and just keep asking questions here in the chat. I'll answer them the best I can. Hold on a second. So I guess one of the things I'd like to talk about is, and we'll continue talking about, is you come to that road. If you're getting ready to build your car, you come to that road where you want to build a motor. You got to take into to granted, like there's just so many different ways to do it with the coyote swaps and the 351s and the 302s. And Pimp is an example here. He's the guy who actually chose for this topic, this evening. And I think that, his best interest, if he made a good amount of horsepower already in a 302 or a 306, I think the very next step definitely should be into a 9.5 deck motor. I mean, I think that's the next transition. Is a 302 not going to survive at 570 like he made? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you could, the potentiality of making more horsepower, you see what I mean, is higher and greater with a 9.5 deck motor. Plus, it's a little bit more reliable. But oh yeah, definitely nitrous. That's a good point. Just turn it. When you start messing with nitrous, you got to start messing with timing, backing the timing off. You got to start messing with spark plugs. You'd be changing spark plugs every other pass, or I don't know. I think some of the higher nitrous is required to do it every pass. And you got to learn how to judge your timing mark on your plug, which is kind of tuned. You kind of dialing in your nitrous or whatever. But that's what makes a naturally aspirated motor kind of nice with like a big inch Windsor, the nitrous build, is you could really dial your stuff in. You could really make good horsepower normal with 2-inch headers, big 750 E85 car. It's got to be more than that. Was it like 850,000 or whatever? I don't know what the CFM is required on like 427 or 408, but I mean, plus you get that sound, you get that muffler sound, you get that camshaft. It's pretty badass. Does Holiday have a discount code for the Ford Takeover? I don't know. Easier and more reliable with 9.5 deck. Not sure convinced me. That's for sure. Definitely easier. I mean, if you're at the point where you guys are going to get ready to do an engine swap, you're not going to do a Coyote or a Terminator or one of the exotic builds, I would definitely consider just getting a 351. Says it. Okay. Um, what's up, Chris? I didn't even see you there. I think I hit your message once. What's up, McBride Racing? Good to see him. So, KP has Eagle forged crank, H beam rods, crane hydraulic roller, 24s, trick flow heads. Am I missing stuff to list? Um, yeah. What else did you say up here? What has a higher difficulty, a super or supercharger or turbo? To be honest with you, when you're running with like a MAF system, the MAF transfer curve, pretty much all of it. Even with the binary editor stuff, the learning curve is about the same. Um, the carbureted curve, the carbureted learning curve for trying to add, you know, trying to tune the car to whatever stroke, whatever build you got going on with your the carburetor has its own little different tuning with the jets, and how and how it's related to the motor. So tuning curve's not that bad, to be honest with you. Do you think it's worth selling my C4 and getting a 6R80 with the adapter for a 351? No, I would just stay with it. If I did anything, I would do a 4R70W, kind of like what Brutal did with um, when he built that. Uh, oh shit, the one for is it the Carbon Fox? Yeah. So Blueprint Engine has a new 302 block out now. Has all 4-bolt mains, priority mains, all good stuff. Nice. I did not know that. So I mean, obviously, the more strength and aftermarket blocks definitely help with the reliability. But when it comes to production, you know, 9.5, start making more horsepower. That's where you want to go. Of course, I'm going to say that, right? But whether it's boosted or stroked, I think it just depends. It just depends on what plans you have for your car. Obviously, you can do them both. If you're looking for a lot more reliability than maintenance, then obviously running with running naturally aspirated on a nice system with it jam and a good exhaust system might be what you want to do. It just depends. A lot of it depends on how much horsepower you really want to make. If you're just, I mean, 350 wheel in a Fox body coming from a stock motor will make it, will deceive you. It'll make you feel like you're making 600 wheel. I mean, just because it's that much of a jump. You make 400 wheel in a Fox body, and it'll feel like you're making 1,000. It's just fun. See what I mean? And it's reliable. Coyote motors, they sound super cool. They're a thing of the future. They're new technology in an old car that we love. Running a Coyote motor, I mean, you're talking RPMs, you're talking sound, you're talking, like I said, reliability. You can do whatever with a Coyote. Make good horsepower to the wheels without really touching, doing a whole lot of modifications to it. So, but again, it's pricey. Doing a Coyote swap and a 351 swap, they're not cheap. Which one's cheaper? I would probably say that the 351 swap is cheaper, but consider the fact that you got to actually build the motor is what makes it expensive. It's probably way more expensive than a Coyote, to be honest with you. I mean, you just get a sealed Gen 3 for whatever price, and then you don't have to really you still have to modify the if I remember correctly, you still have to modify the Coyote motor, quite a bit to get it to really perform with, uh, is it oil pump gear, cams, and such like that. So, it all depends on how much money and time you want to put into it. But again, money bits to begin with. So yep, it's a good topic. I mean, it's definitely a good topic. Displacement, there's no replacement for displacement, guys. When you start getting into, the 351 Windsor small block Fords, they're still considered small block Fords. You can go all the way up. I think production blocks can go all the way up to 427 or whatever, 432 or something like that. But I mean, we're talking a 417 crank, which really puts a beating on the rod angle. There's not a lot. It's not a very popular build versus like a 408 or a 410 with a 4-inch crank. That's a little bit more reliable with less clearancing and such like that. So, um, you know, I'd say it's time you do one. You're talking about a Coyote swap? Probably not. Maybe one day we'll do a Coyote swap. Yeah, the Godzilla, I think, would probably be the one that we did next. Definitely, definitely, definitely interested in the Godzilla motor. It's still it's the new style push rod. Obviously, there's not enough information and swap stuff out there that I need to know about yet. But I mean, obviously, it wouldn't be that difficult to hook up Holly to it, which I think there's been a handful of people. There's been a lot of people that's done it already. But Godzilla's a bit badass little motor. I would probably skip the Coyote and go right to the Godzilla if I was to build another one. If I was to do a new age, modular or what have you. You're taking displacement. Yeah, big block forward. I mean, come on, bro. You start stroking out the 460s, and you start stroking out them big blocks, boy. That's game changing. You're talking 1,000 horsepower, 1,500 horsepower, depending on how you build it. So, the reliability. That's the whole purpose of this whole live stream is, the more horsepower you make, that you want to make, it's going to be unreliable. You're not going to be able to drive it back and forth to work 30 miles every day. It starts getting into that, how much do you truly want to drive the damn thing. Again, the Coyote swap is all a good one. Costs money, but you're talking a naturally aspirated new edge motor, a new style motor. So it's probably going to be fine to daily drive the shit out of that. It's not going to be a whole lot of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Reliability issues because it's going to just run like it's in a Mustang or a truck, anyways, right? And then it's in a 2,600, 2,700 pound Fox body, and it's out there, spinning tires all over the place. But to achieve Coyote numbers to the wheels does require a 347 stroke motor or a 9.5 deck stroke motor. Uh, and you start, you want to make more horsepower, you start really digging into the reliability. It really does. I mean, I try to balance that shit so much, where I'm, like I drive in the white car all the time. Like we drove probably 20, 15 miles today after we fixed it. And, I'm just trying to break things in and make sure things work. And I'm driving around with like one headlight on and shit. And, it's just how unreliable sitting in a, uh, you know, horsepower car that I don't know. You're always trying to balance that. That's kind of like the dream, right? Is to have a 1,000 horsepower daily driver, right? You're right. Chasing number always costs me. That is for damn sure, Paul. That is for damn sure. So, so the Rich Holdner videos, he talks about how 302 can turn 8 to 10. It's worth to watch it. Okay, so probably one of his biggest things he talks about in that video, I think I remember watching that, is the zero. Super duper important. Well, I want to drive my Fox body, so I'm trying to get out the rabbit hole. Listen, Fox body and rabbit hole are in the same sentence. Ain't nothing else you can do about it. It is what it is. They're in the same sentence. Wow. I don't know. Do this. Check this out. Hold on, I'm messing with it. Hmm. I've never seen this actually. Hold on. I'm actually going back and forth to the settings. I just wanted to get to and from Sam's Club as quickly as possible. Okay, so Jim or Willie, the mechanic waiting for me. I don't have the room. My Strata council kicked my ass when I swapped a B16. Oh, you got a Honda. Oop, got to bounce, man. Thanks for the knowledge. I appreciate you. Appreciate you, KP, for stepping in. So, long story short, guys, you want to make more horsepower, it's going to be unreliable. Things are going to happen. Um, for instance, my buddy here, all kind of problems my man Dan Watts has this past year. His car makes 1,100 wheel, and then his crankshaft keys started messing up, and the damn crank started messing up, and it's just like it requires maintenance. The more horsepower you make, the more unreliable it comes. Things are going to happen to it. you gotta pay attention to. If you're just now getting into the Fox body game, there's nothing wrong with your stock motor. You can make some good make a good stock motor sound good. Just throw a cam in it, some rockers on it, make it sound good. You can put some exhaust on it, make it sound good. You don't have to jump. You don't have to make 1,000 horsepower. Guys, I'm not trying to make 1,000 horsepower in these cars. I'm not interested. It's already a handful to begin with. You guys see the videos I put here on the channel. The shit is already a handful to begin with. Making 750, 800 wheel is happy there. I'm not chasing that number. I'm trying to make that shit work for us here on the channel with it, and that's what you should do. Again, the big three we talk about: time, money, and family. Always, always, always should be in your priority list when you're getting ready to build an engine, or when you're trying to figure out, well, should I just stroke the motor or should I boost the motor? Well, it's kind of the same thing. If you can do them both, you do it right. Or you don't have to do it at all. It just depends on what your goals are, to be honest with you. And don't spend too much time, you're chasing what other people are doing. You know, there's nothing, there's nothing wrong with building a simple, 306 motor. I built them here on the channel for a number of my cars, and there's nothing wrong with that. Anyways, we're in at about an hour. Where are we at here? So displacement, there's no replacement for displacement, and that comes with the 351. Although the 347s are badass little motors, so isn't the Coyote swaps. I still bet 500 horsepower in a Fox body will let you run with a Hellcat. So, in my experiences at the track, most of the Hellcats that we have here locally at our track run tens. Some of them, lower tens, some of them mid tens, etc. So the Fox bodies that come up there that have like a 427s, 363s, the Hootmans are perfect examples of this. Those guys smoke cars 90% of the time. You guys know Rust Bucket Racers, same people, Hootman Racing. Um, they got 427s, they got a 363, and both of their naturally aspirated cars run, one runs like 940s, the other one runs like 990s, 950s, 990s, whatever. So yeah, they don't stand a chance, really. The Hellcats don't when they come to our track. But I mean, you're talking about Hellcats that are just pretty much bone stock. I mean, for what they are. I mean, they put a tire on them and a tune in them, so there's nothing wrong with that. The 95 Cobra R had a GT40 351 Windsor, and that car was so much fun. So yeah, that's all. That's a really good budget. I'm glad you brought that up, Super Dave. Putting a GT40 heads on a stock bottom end 351. I get asked this question quite often, to be honest with you, and that's a pretty baller little setup for just a budget build. Um, the 351 roller motor came with a 448 lift cam, anyways. Nothing fancy or whatever, but it still was almost equivalent to a Fox body camshaft. Really, actually, pretty much almost the same. And that was pretty much a baller motor, naturally aspirated. If you guys wanted to do something budget that was really cool for your Fox body on an engine swap, definitely a GT40, 351 stock bottom end. You start getting into the stroke motors like the 387 we're building here, and the 393, you start getting into compression issues. Unless you can get a real big dish piston for a 393, then we're talking about a nice budget 351 stroke motor there. But a simple stock bottom end 351 with 30 over forged pistons, your stock crank, stock, rods, or even just the stock pistons. Throw a set of GT40, 3-bar heads on there, or an entry level aluminum heads. Have all the fun in the world with it. You're going to make 325, 330, 340 wheel. It's going to make got a good exhaust, makes a big difference. Nice set of long tubes. Pretty much, you just come to think of it, it's pretty much what Foxcast is doing right now with the church van motor. That's what they had talked about on the channel. They talked about doing a 351 with a set of long tubes and such. So that build's definitely going to be cool. They got they got an engine now. They're looking for a body. So big shout out to Caleb over there at Foxcast. He's doing some 351 9.5 deck motor content. So I love that shit. You know that. So Anyway, moving on. Answering questions here. I'm trying to go through and catch them all. I still think if I could start my build over, I'd just go with an on three kit, turn it up to 500. 500 is a lot. Stock head, stock cam, and boost. The most we ever made was 470. You could definitely put an on three kit or a similar kit on your, stock motor. Um, Here's a really cool one. What we did with Project Hot Wheels is the epitome of what you when it comes to reliability. Project Hot Wheels definitely had its issues as far as like transmission, clutch, launching the car at the track. But the whole purpose of Project Hot Wheels, see, Dad's car, Project Hot Wheels, was built on the channel. It had purpose. So when we got into Project Hot Wheels, all we really wanted to do was take the stock motor, bone stock, put the pistons, rebuild the rings, rebuild the bearings, and rebuild the heads, stock intake, put some injectors in it, stock fuel system, upgrade the wiring, and just see how much power we can make with it. So you guys could make Coyote power or more, 470, 450 wheel, pretty reliable on a stock rebuilt 302 motor with a simple small turbo kit. And it's the main thing is the tune. The tune in the fuel, this should be your biggest mod of saving the money for a guy who knows how to tune it. So I picked up a tubular 351 Windsor upper and lower a couple weeks ago. Nice. I'd love to get that ported and get it on a healthy boosted 9.5. I guess it's just time. So that tubular upper or lower for that 351, that's big money right there. Ooh, excuse me. I think I have a little bit of chat lag here. I just had a really bad. Okay. Can the TKX handle the horsepower of a boosted 351 though? Yes. Guys, it's the way that the what do you say? The TKX design. Okay, so we just went to Liberty Gears, obviously. You guys that follow the channel know that we visited Liberty Gears on Friday because we had an issue on Wednesday. That was our last video. So, I got to talk to some of the guys who actually build these transmissions, rebuild and modify these transmissions. And I can tell you that the TKX is built well. The case itself, okay? It's what's called, if I'm not mistaken, Hanlon, I think it's called a mid plate design. Whereas like this is just kind of the nicknames that they use. Whereas like the T56 is called the platform design, where you take it apart you put it up on its face and you take it apart, which you guys will see in the video. The TKX is kind of a mid plate design. It's kind of like based off the old top loader, if I'm not mistaken. So the strength is there, as much as as much as you could put at it, as far as within reason. I think the TKX would be just fine. I think it's really underrated, within reason. Okay, I know people break them. There's people that break T56s. Like the TKX will serve its purpose to bridge the gap between a T5 and like a T56 Magnum. Do you understand? So will it handle a boosted 351? Absolutely. It handles my 363. And guys, I'm telling you, this playlist with my TKX, I'm not around. We weren't nice to it ever. I'm still not nice to the transmission. I'm telling you. So keep that in mind when you're trying to buy a transmission. I've been telling you guys for years, TKX is the perfect bridge between a nice T5 and or an AOD swap up to about 700 wheel, reliably ish. You know what I mean? Depending on your weight of the car, and just wouldn't think twice. So I'm not mad at the decision with taking the TKX or the T56 out of my black car, running the TKX because I was super interested to begin with, anyways. So, anyways, we'll continue talking about the. I'm running a Murphy's Law in the house. What's up, brother? I'm running a 331 GP40 3 bars, FPM, RPM 2. I want to get horsepower numbers before installing on my on 3 kit. Yeah, 3 bar 331 FCAM, probably about 340 wheel on a good tune. On 3 kit should make we'll say 500 wheel on about 10 pounds, depending on the timing and the fuel. So it's a pretty good little build for sure. I'm having a terrible fuel pump issue in my wiring harness. If you can give me some tips and tricks on what to check, um, you should just check all your wiring harness. I will give it to a mechanic and trust for now. I trust for now. Um, we did a wiring upgrade video. It's on our channel. It's in our mods and instructional videos, or whatever you want to call it. So it's a pretty cool video of when we boost it. Could probably be one of your issues that you're already having. No matter what you run, take it to the mad scientist for a tune. Yeah, so it's a Dino. We do tune. I mean, we're still tuning up here A9Ls and binary editor. We don't really advertise a whole lot, but if you guys are within reasonable drive to northeast Ohio and want to get your A9L tuned, obviously you can hit me up. But we could also make a nice dyno appointment with the mad scientist, and he'll clean up your tune. Thanks, Dan, for keeping it real. All right, man. See you, Tintin. Good to have you here on the channel. Thank you so much for stopping in. All right, so let's talk about what's coming up, and then we'll finish with the reliability and the boost and stuff like that. But you guys can keep asking questions here in the chat if you need. Anyway, guys, we got Ford Takeover coming up. So tomorrow, for those guys that are stick shift racing, tomorrow is the deadline. There is an open spot right now for it. We got Ford Takeover. You guys know what Ford Takeover is. I think if there's going to be an event that you guys should go to this year, it should be Ford Takeover. It's June 23rd, 24th, but probably be some things going on the 22nd a little bit in Jackson, Tennessee. Obviously, it's hosted by our man, Foxcast at Foxcast Media, Caleb Richards. Anyways, there's going to be a shootout Saturday. I'm going to be race master for that. I'm going to be throwing that at the track that we're going to be testing. I think Brutal's going to be doing some stuff with RC cars. So if you got an RC car, it's pretty fast. Bring it on down. But as far as stick shift stuff's concerned, we are going to be doing a live stream specifically about stick shift and the shootout. I'm going to show the format of it. I'm going to show the people that are in it right now. We're going to be doing there are going to be a couple spots that are opening up tomorrow because I gave it till May 15th, and I'm going to erase them off the board. I know there's one for sure, and then I'm going to hopefully pack the list up with a couple of alternates because then June 1st I'm going to make out a shout, make sure everybody's ready to go with the shootout. So I want to show up with 16 cars and have a have a great time and such. So anyways, so we're going to be doing live stream. I don't know if it's this week or next week. Probably be better next week for our stick to shootout. It'll probably be with Brutal and Foxcast as well here on my channel. And we're going to focus mainly on the events that are happening Saturday that day. With the stick shift shootout as well. So, it's going to be super. It's going to be super awesome. It's going to be epic. We got Tremec showing up. We got McLeod showing up. We got a lot of tier 1 vendors that are showing up. We're gonna have a good time there. We're gonna send our cars down the track and have all kind of fun. You guys will see a nice little show of it. So I'm sure it'll be live at some point somewhere on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And then there's the drag and drive events. What do you mean? I think my buddy Dan Watts here on the channel is going to be going to a drag and drive. I think he's doing a drag and drive before 2 weeks before. Anyways, it's a good topic for the evening. Uh, about an hour and 10 minutes in, not that I'm counting, but starting to lose my voice for some reason. I don't know why. Allergies. So, what else we got coming up? Well, we got Fat Man Invasions coming on this weekend. Might make a little bit of a short video there, just to kind of represent. This is the same one that we did a stick shift event shootout last year in August, and they're going to be doing a shootout again this year at Fat Man Invasions in August. But I'll probably be at a no prep event. I'm not going to lie to you. I think that's one of the days that we have a no prep event. But guys, if you guys get you know any questions about your builds with your motors and such, everything I say here on the channel I do, as far as like all the experiences I've had with 302s and 351s, and I wouldn't steer you wrong. If you can afford a coyote swap, go do it. If you can afford a Godzilla swap, go do it. 9.5 deck, I think, is the step up to the 302. So if you're trying to make more than 500 horsepower, definitely consider building one of them, because you can still be a naturally aspirated monster for a while. That nice little 393, 408, 427 stroker. You don't even need to buy the aftermarket block. You can just use a junkyard. I mean, to each their own. No wrong. No build is wrong. You can't. I'll never knock on somebody's build because they didn't build it the right way. It's everybody builds the way they want to build it. My specific 408 was a zero balance Eagle. I think it's a K1 Tech crank with an Eagle rods and Wiseco pistons. We put some retro lifters in there from Morel. I mean, there was some good stuff in there. But hey, that's super special, super secret. I mean, you take my motor apart, it's just a basic 408, 410. I talked to Hanlon at Hershey's show about Ford Takeover. Unfortunately, I can't. I was trying to make it, but I can't. That sucks, Chris. I think you were there last year, weren't you? How do I talk the wife into letting me get a turbo kit? You don't. You put it on the card and say it was some mulch or something. What's coming up is my wheels, and my buddy sees my graders in the windshield. Uh-oh. Got a little racing action there. So anyway, yeah, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. I'm gonna probably go ahead and wrap this one up for the evening. As you guys already know, we got a video this week coming up for. There's definitely I feel like I said enough about this topic tonight. I really kind of want to hit on it again. Maybe add boost or stroke, add displacement. I would like. I mean, there's so many things so many different directions that I wanted to talk about tonight. It's a really big topic. You start talking about 302, 306 builds, the 330, 347s. You start talking about adding boost, not adding boost, adding nitrous, not adding nitrous, swapping to a 351, swapping to a coyote. So I guess the conversation I had tonight, I tried to just be as basic and vague as possible. When we start really digging in like the 351 swap, I really love talking about the 351 swap because it's something that I should have done a long time ago. But I don't want to discredit the 302 because the 302 is still one of my favorite engines. And it'll always be one of my favorite engines. And I think I've only split maybe 3 in my lifetime, and I got greedy on 2 of them. So it was my own fault. Otherwise, the 363 and the 8.2 deck platform, you know, one step past the 347 is probably my favorite engine, to be honest with you. Neil, will you be attending LMR Cruise? I will not. That's in Texas, and I got so many different things. I mean, we're going to Ford Takeover this year. We're going just came from Chocolate Fox, and we raced out there, and we went to the No Prep in the same weekend. It was a crazy weekend. Um, Thinking about doing NMRA June 10th. I don't know if Danny Watts is still here in the channel, but need to get your shit right so we can do another NMR. Just go old school one time. You know what I mean? Um, I got to go on a radio though. The way I got my white car. Um, the way I got my white car squatting and moving, it's definitely it's definitely could I could do that shit on a radio, that's for sure. Yeah, Dave, I don't know what's going on with it. Did you try to super thanks it on maybe one of my other videos? I don't know why it's doing what it's doing. Did you try to add a message? I don't know. Did he get my shit? Hell yeah. I sent us a couple shirts. I sent him a hat that we wear here in the channel. I've been watching Tussin since I was under 1,000 subs. I think he was one of my I think he was one of my very first subscribers, not subscribers, but people that I started watching back in the day, man. Let me tell you what. And the shit he's doing with that car is crazy. Like I think he's running like 690s or something like that, and like a naturally aspirated 302. And I enjoy Rod. I enjoy all the stuff that he does on this channel. So I'll continue to support whatever he needs. I got so much stuff here that I can probably donate to his shit if he wanted it. I don't know. I mean, he's a humble guy. So if you guys don't know who 50 Tussin is, make sure you go check out his channel. Um, definitely worth the watch. I appreciate that either way, Chris. I appreciate that. I mean, I don't know what it's doing, why it's doing that. But I looked at all my options here. You guys are really good about that. It's appreciated either way. Look at my settings again. Hmm. Try it now, Super Dave. See if it works. Anyway, there's a new option that I just seen there, Super Dave. I don't know what it's doing, but I do appreciate you and Chris regardless because you guys have been donating to the channel for a long time and appreciate what you guys do for us. It helps the channel to do the things that we do on it, guys. I mean, I appreciate everybody who's part of that, especially you guys in green, man. You guys in green. I encourage you guys, if you haven't already, check out the join button below to be a member of the channel. I'm always talking in there, always trying to motivate you to shit off the stands. It reminds me, get your shit off the stands. Make a plan, write it down. We're always talking about it here on the channel. Guys, I broke my transmission Wednesday. Thursday, we had it out laying on the ground. Friday, we made some decisions. Sunday morning, other trans Sunday morning, transmission back in. One way or the other, make it happen. Is it sometimes it's expensive, sometimes it requires a lot of time, sometimes it requires sacrifice. It is what it is. Time, money, family. Always keep those three in mind when you're trying to build these damn cars. Sometimes you got to take shortcuts in life. Sometimes you just got to go with what the next thing is. It is what it is. But as far as staring at the damn thing while it sits on the jack stand, let me tell you what. Black car came down this past week, and I'm going to tell you. I'm going to be honest with you. We bent an axle. Now I was supposed to go to a truck rental, so a big shout to my man Danny Daniel Robinson. Big shout to Budget Build Dom here on the channel, man. Appreciate you guys. But to be honest, is there ads in it? Hold on a minute. That's not what it's supposed to do. That's the thing I clicked. Let me get that out of there. Hold on a minute. Let me get that. What is going on with the monetization part of this? It's stupid. All right. So hope that's not bugged. There's a couple options with the monetization when you turn it on, and one of them has to do with ads. I don't even that's new. You guys are getting ads? What is what's YouTube doing? Pimp, I appreciate you. $20 super chat, super sticker. Thank you so much. I don't know what's going on your end, Dave, but I appreciate that. Yeah, I seen it. It was right here. I think they said they were having issues with it. Did you guys get an ad? Wow. So they're sticking ads, and so I have to actually shut that off manually. Like, because I don't know. I guess Super Dave's having an issue with monetization and whatever. I mean, it's appreciated, guys. It's super appreciated. I mean, whatever. But that's weird. That's like a bug. I don't know. Whatever. I'll make sure I send it to the text or whatever. But guys, let me get back into what I'm talking about. Get your shit fixed. Write it down. Figure out a figure out a time. Make it happen. We're going to be talking more about this topic because I know you guys definitely want to talk about this. There was just pimp. You gave me too big. I understood the assignment, but you gave me too big of an assignment, brother. So what we're going to talk about possibly next week: boost versus stroke. There's so many things out this. I don't know. Tell you what, hit me up in the comments below. I appreciate that, Chris. Appreciate the $20 super chat. I promise I won't have ads in my live anymore. You might get the ads after the live because that's the way it happens, anyways. But I do appreciate you guys for what you do for me here on the channel, man. So it's just a big topic. I understood the assignment. We shook it down. We got pretty vague with it. I'd really like to talk more about the 351 versus the 302, but I don't want to discredit the 302 guys because not everybody's going to have the opportunity to build a 351. Because to be honest with you, Ford was stingy with what they put the 351 in. You know, when it comes to reliability, and I'm going to hit on it one more time. When it comes to reliability, keep one thing in mind: the more horsepower you make, the more shit you're going to have to fix, the more stuff you're going to have to pay attention to. If you build a nice monster stroke 427, 408, 393, whatever, you can actually make pretty good power. I'm talking push rod. No, I'm not talking coyote. And sound, you could enjoy the shit. That's the motor I would do if I was looking to do some naturally aspirated shit. Carbureted or EFI don't matter. You know what I'm saying? E85, always E85. Always E85. Always. E85 is a good cheap fuel that you can buy at the pump. My cars all run E80. I buy it at Speedway. It's 250 a gallon. I don't buy special race fuel. E85 is a very good fuel to use for racing and for street. Considering the fact you consume 33% more of it, it still burns cold. You can put a lot of timing into it, and it's a lot safer than something like a 93 octane or even 100 octane. But I think it measures around about the same 100 octane or whatever. But there's so many things to talk about when you start kind of together when you say boost versus stroke versus it's all about what you want. So It's how you want to build your motor. If it's something that you want to do that you just want to drive all the time, if you're gonna daily drive your Fox body, if you're gonna daily drive whatever you're gonna drive, definitely would probably consider going with a bigger displacement 9.5 deck stroke motor. Just go ahead and but there's nothing says that you can't reliably drive a turbo kit. I drive my black car every damn day. What's the things that's happened to my black car? I burned my oil line. I burned my O2 harness. Um, my distributor hold down button came loose, which Hanlon hooked me up with a good aftermarket one. How did I know that the aftermarket 363 block didn't like the OE style distributor hold down button? Am I right? So these are the things. The more horsepower and the more you want to build, the more you're going to have to keep your fingers in it. And you're going to have to, and the reliability kind of goes to the wayside. Because if I didn't pay attention to none of that shit, I burned my power steering hose twice versus a naturally aspirated car, maybe a carbureted car, super simple build, big headers. Headers are everything. Nice camshaft. You can start that thing up and crack it on down the street every day of the week and twice on Sundays. That's correct. All horsepower is going to do is it's going to find the next weakest link. That's why we get transmission questions like, will the TKX hold to this? Will a T5 hold behind? Guys, do not put a T5 behind a 351. A 351 is a torque monster and will crush third gear. You can get away with it if you're not going to beat the shit out of it. T5 is actually kind of tough when you rebuild them with good parts, but still have their limit. I've watched a T5 get broken at 200 horsepower. I've watched a T5 in my Project Hot Wheels and even in my dad's car survive under 400 horsepower. So 100% what he just said finds the next weakest link. So for sure. So we're going to talk about this again, guys. I'm open for any suggestions on what direction you want to talk about it. I definitely want to talk about 351 shit next week. If you guys want to hear it, I think we should revisit why you should not build a 387. If that doesn't pique your interest, I'm going to tell you some secrets on the stuff that I've learned here on the 387 build that you're going to want to pay attention to. If you want to build a 9.5 deck 351 motor and you're at that crossroads where the 302 is just not cutting it no more, and you're ready to either do a Coyote swap or build a 351 Windsor. What if I told you that if you already had a built 302 that's 30 over, that you could use your 302 motor to build a 393 stroke? It's definitely a good topic. I think you guys are going to enjoy the shit out of that. 100%. Because listen, we bent the axle in the black car, but that don't mean we can't still drive the damn thing. It ain't bent that damn much. The tube kind of tweaked a little bit. We're going to be talking about that here on the channel. I'm probably just going to do a short video on it, show you what it looks like. Probably should do a live stream on it. But when you get into the axle part of the car, you know what Chris just said about the next weakest link, you start getting into the 88 axle stuff. Dude, those tubes will twist. They have to be welded up. And like a dumbass, I didn't weld up my tube when I raced my axle on my 88 on my black car. But again, if you remember, the black car kind of was the guinea pig for the channel for the longest time. Went from a stock car to like 700 horsepower overnight. Definitely something we need to talk about. Yeah, I agree with that, Sean. Yeah, yes, this is going to be where it's at 9.5 deck win. So that's exactly where we want to go. Yes, we did a 387 stroke with one nice block on my Instagram about it. Yes, he did. There's the Aeromotive 340 run E85. So E85 consumes about 33% more fuel. 340, if it's not wired correctly, consider the fact that a 340 will not run at 340 without running a voltage amperage. It takes a lot of amps to run a 340. I would definitely consider a Hellcat pump and or what is it? Isn't there like a 520 or a four, whatever? I would run a bigger pump than 340. But here's the thing: is when you start getting into the bigger pumps, you got to get into a different hanger too. So hope that kind of helped you with that. Can you look up a nice price on a Speedmaster? Yes. So Pimp is Dan is a, if you guys didn't know, big shout out to Dan Robinson. He is my Summit Tech. Hell yeah, we him and Dom were on my members channel recently. I showed you a picture of me. So hope you. So how was your? Before I get off, I need to ask. I was invited to a Summit rental, track rental this past Friday, but we went to Liberty Gears, as you guys see, and we'll be talking about that this week. How did your car run, Dan? Or you don't want to talk about it? I know you got it running, man. Dave was working his ass off. The guys, he works at Summit Racing. He's been there for 10 years plus, and he was working his ass off to get his car ready for this track rental because he had a little grudge race with the 2JZ, if I remember correctly. So I'm kind of curious to see what happened. You don't have to talk about it on live if you don't want, bro. I won't say anything. I can see what I can do best for sale car shows sponsors by Summit. Normally pass out a 10% off sticker. That's huge. Didn't get it there. My trailer harness wouldn't work, so I had to tow it there. So I couldn't tow it there, bro. I got like 3 trailers here, man. You should have told me that. Come on, bro. We got to figure it out, bro. We got to figure it out. You should come out to Cunley Motorsports Park and shake it down while we're over there. We're actually heading to Cunley Motorsports Park Wednesday to shake the car down again with shock settings. So we're not going to make too many passes. But hopefully, it don't break some shit again. But it is what it is. We're pushing it as far as we can. Anyways, guys, I hope that I want to big shout out to AutoStar. This is I don't know what they're doing here on this. I think it has something to do with the big shout out to Pimp for the $20 super chat, Chris Corder for the super chat, and Ryan Bass with the $20 super chat. Man, I appreciate you guys tonight. Pretty sure that Super Dave is here somewhere as well. So appreciate that, Super Dave. I know that you've been helping out on a trip, man. Thank you so much. So hell yes. Okay. Anyways, I think next week we'll talk about 351 stuff again. If you guys want to talk about 387, 393 budget, junkyard budget, 387, 393 stuff. It's kind of a nice topic to talk about because you're definitely, if you're at a crossroads and you're ready to go into a 9.5 deck motor, um, there's nothing wrong with a stock bottom end. I can share my experiences with stock bottom end 351 again. I'll let you know how much horsepower I made, let you know what to expect from one. And it may help you, some of you guys on the channel, steer towards maybe doing a 9.5 deck. If that's maybe in your future. Maybe it's. Thanks, 1010 for popping in. I'm going to see a harness on my truck. Wouldn't work. I have a new wire. Okay. Anyways, guys, get your shit out the jack stands. Enjoy your car. It's almost summertime. I think it's summertime, May 21st or something like that, right? Or is it June? I think it's in June. Regardless, it's getting nice out. I'm driving my black car every day, even with a bent axle. I need to get it fixed, and we'll talk about that more here on the channel. But yeah, guys, super vague. I'm sorry if I was super vague tonight about the topic. There's just so much to talk about with boost and versus stroke motors versus nitrous motors versus displacement. I mean, I enjoy talking about engines because I like building engines. I kind of get ahead of myself a lot here on the channel. I built the 387 and I haven't put it in the car yet. I got the 363. I'm going to go through and put it in the coupe. It's what we do here on the channel, man. We build it, we break it, we send it, rinse, repeat. But appreciate everybody for stopping in tonight. Leave me a comment below if you like the topic or want me to talk about a topic close to it in relation to what we already talked about tonight with boost and versus stroke and whatever. So, guys, I appreciate you watching the channel. We'll look out for the video this week on the Liberty Gears. I got a little short video I might release where we raced the Tesla over in Eastern PA. Had a bunch of fun there. Got a little Chocolate Fox video. We did more of a vlog style, so it wasn't really more about the event, more than the experience I had that weekend. Got a lot of videos. Got a lot of videos coming out. We're going to try to, we're going to put them out on random nights. So I'm not really set on the schedule. Probably next video will probably be Tuesday. So, just stay tuned. But outside of that, guys, I just appreciate everybody for joining in tonight. We will see you soon this week in the next video. Get those wrenches spinning. Get that car off the jack stand. Thank you so much for joining tonight. Have a good night.